Hi guys, this is Matt, and today I'm going to be talking about what I've been doing for the past 5 or 6 months learning Japanese. And I say 5 or 6 months because the main process was about 5 months, but the first month was sort of like the basics, I guess. Um, but I hadn't really decided on a method or a system that I wanted to use. So the first month, essentially, I learned hiragana and katakana. That's all I did, and I just did that on flashcards, ironically, which I didn't know was a good way of doing it. I just sort of did it. Yeah, learned it through I think it was Dr. Moku's mnemonics or something like that. So I used mnemonics and learned hiragana through that. And funny enough, that worked really well. I learned most of them in about a week or two. I actually have a video on it, which I did, which when I was just when I thought it was great. I was like, yes, I learned a syllabary. Syllabary? I don't know how to say that. I learned a language system in 2 weeks. I'm amazing. When in actuality, I was a complete noob and thought I was great when I wasn't. Anyway, um, so there's that, and I did that in the first 1 to 2 weeks ish, and then the next 2 to 3 weeks, I was looking at methods on how to learn Japanese efficiently, fast, quickly, and more importantly, enjoyably, because I didn't want to be tracking myself down. And at this point, I had no clue about languages. I did a little bit German, a little bit Spanish in secondary school, but obviously that was basically grammar drills and vocab. I can't remember a thing of either of them. All I can remember how to say, I play football in German, ich spiele Fußball, and ich spiele Fußball, sorry, and my name is in Spanish, which is Me llamo Matt, I think. Obviously, pronunciation for both those was terrible, and that's all I know out of 3 years of studying German and 2 years of studying Spanish. That's all I know of those two. So that obviously tells you something about classes. Well, to be fair, it has been a long time since I've done them, so I've probably forgotten everything anyway. But nevertheless, um, so at the beginning, I was quite open to other forms of learning, especially because Japanese is a language that is not necessarily taught that often in the UK. It's not that wide, not that big of a language here. I think in America it might be slightly different. There might be a lot more opportunities to get classes, but here it's unless you're in a city, it's very difficult to find a Japanese person for a start, and it's very difficult to find lessons. Now, when I went to university, they offered lessons, and I actually took them for a while. Now, this is September, so about I haven't got my calendar. About a month ago. Um, yeah, about a month ago, which I started. Is it about a month? No, about 2 months ago. Sorry, which I started. Because I started university at like 14th of September. Yeah, about then. And I've been doing those lessons for a while, and they were they were okay at first because they were too easy to be honest. Out of all the work I did this summer, I actually found them too easy, which was kind of hilarious, and I enjoyed them to be fair. It's just a bit of a laugh, but then after a while I realised that actually there's 2 hours I'm wasting on basic sentence structures, which I know already, and then she started getting into grammar, and I was like, yeah, fuck this. I don't want to do grammar. There's no point learning grammar. I'm out. She was like, she started going on about the TEF form, and I'm like, I already know this. I don't need to know. I know it without knowing it. You know what I mean? It's complicated and to explain unless you've gone through this process. But yeah, you sort of. I understand that the TEF form, what the TEF form is for, and I understand those instances where it's used, like like drinking and eating and talking and stuff like that. Talking, whatever. I know instances where it's used, but um, she started making us do all these like there's certain groups for these verbs, and then like each group has a different conjugation rule. And I was like, fuck this. No way, I'm out of it. And she quite annoyed me one lesson because I'd already told her what I was doing, the listening method. So I was saying to her, I do loads of listening, I do loads of reading, and it helps quite a bit. It improves the listening and reading. By doing that, it improves it again, so I can get better at it. And I was listening to my headphones. I had one of my headphones in. I had one of them out, so I was listening to her at the same time while she was explaining some sentence structure or whatever. And I had one headphone in. And I was listening to, I think, Code Geass at the time. And yeah, and she came over and she actually ripped my headphones out. Like, she pulled it out of my ear. Like, bear in mind, I'm 20 years old, for Christ's sake. I'm at university. I don't need some woman ripping my headphones out of my ear. She could have just said to me, excuse me, can you take your headphones out, please, or whatever. She ripped them out. And she was like, damn it, it's your... I was like, ooh, bitch. So that kind of annoyed me, and yeah, so I basically quit then. I just stopped going to lessons. I emailed her saying I don't want to take lessons anymore, thank you very much, and yeah, I left it at that. So at the beginning they were alright, they were fun, it was enjoyable, it wasn't too bad, but then eventually it got shit, so obviously I dropped out. If it is fun, and your teacher can make it fun, and you can actually learn a lot, and it's useful to you, then by all means do lessons. But more often or not, most of the time, they are completely pointless, because you learn one sentence structure for 1 hour. You do speaking, which is pointless, because the input method, I don't know, suggests that, you have loads of input before you give output, so you don't need to speak yet, you just need input. So you don't need speaking. Speaking is a waste of time, and that's all you do essentially. So that's usually what happens most of the time. So lessons are pretty much pointless. So yeah, that's my rant about lessons. So I did them in what, I guess the 4th month? I can't remember. But basically, after the first month, I found the AJATT method. I've been doing that for the past 5 months. I haven't looked back. It's been brilliant. It's been really good. I've been enjoying myself. It's quite awesome. I've been enjoying myself so much that I'm actually putting off other stuff, which isn't good, but, like coursework and stuff. I haven't necessarily been putting it off, but it's a case of, like, when I wake up in the morning and I've got a free day, like today, I go through all my kanji first, I do all my reviews first, I try and get all my sentences reviews done first, and I'll add sentences after I've done the reviews. And then if I've got 2 hours left at, say, 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, then I'll start doing my my coursework, which is not necessarily a good, stable method at the moment, so I need to sort of change that. I think I need to reduce the amount of sentences I do a day, because I think I'm doing too many. But, yeah. So harmful to my possibly harmful to my studies. So I need to keep an eye on that. It's funny really, because whenever I get into something, I seem to get obsessed with it and get addicted in a way, which is kind of strange. This similar thing actually happened to me with gaming. I know gaming is slightly different because it can be said as a form of entertainment, but to me, so is this. It's no different. In college, which in case you guys don't know about the UK system, we have high school, then we have 2 years of college, which is basically every other country's last 2 years of high school. We go to a separate place called college, and then we go to university. So college and university for us are separate things. But in college, I actually failed my first year because I got obsessed with video games, and yeah, Dota 2 specifically, I got so stuck into that. I end up racking up some ridiculous amounts of playtime, ridiculous amounts of hours on it in the course of a year, and my grades hurt really badly. But I wasn't enjoying the work that I was doing, so it's sort of, you can sort of understand what's going on there. I was enjoying gaming, so I did more gaming than I did work. But if you enjoy the work, then it will really help you get there. I'm enjoying Japanese, so I'm plowing through it. I'm enjoying myself. I can read a manga with furigana, but I can read a manga all the way through and understand roughly what's going on. I can't read every single word, but I can enjoy the process, and that to me is amazing. It just shows that if you can keep that going and you can get obsessed with it, then you're obviously going to get to fluency at some point. So that's my take on it. Get obsessed, but don't let it harm your other studies or work or whatever. Luckily, I don't have much of a social life, so I can plow through it quite quickly, hopefully. That's something I was going to talk about. So, the only people I interact with in English is course mates and family once a week, pretty much for an hour on Skype, and flatmates who I'll have dinner with or lunch with every now and then. So I don't have too much English in my life, apart from lectures as well. Obviously, lectures and lessons. Although the lessons are usually just 5 minutes of talking and then get on with your own work. So yeah, so I don't get too much English, and a lot of my environment is Japanese. A lot of my listening is Japanese. I'd say I probably reckon about anywhere from 18 to 22 hours a day of listening. Obviously, sleep time counts, so yeah. So that's quite good. I don't usually listen to music as much. I will on the bus and stuff if there's people talking, because if I can hear English, I usually latch onto the English. I find myself listening in, because I guess that's what your brain automatically does. It's like, oh, I can understand this one, but I can't understand this one, so I'm going to latch on to English. So I often find myself listening to music instead of an episode of anime, because more often than not, there's gaps in the speech, and then you can start hearing people talking behind you, and you start listening to what they're saying. So I listen to music to drown that out. Do my reps on the bus. Yeah, that's pretty much the only time I listen to music. Also, if I'm doing reps in bed, actually, as well, because occasionally I like to do it just before going to sleep, and that way it sort of pressures me slightly to get them done in a decent amount of time, so I can get a good night's sleep. Because I'm like, oh, I don't want to be up at 1 o'clock doing reviews. So you've got 10 minutes to do them all, to do 50 reviews or whatever. And more often than not, I can do it. It usually works. But if I'm doing that, then music helps me do it faster, because if I'm listening to an episode, I often get distracted by the episode and end up laying there listening to the episode. So I usually listen to music during the process of doing reviews and doing flashcards. Other than that, though, it's usually always anime or TV shows. And later on, it'll be news stuff. And when I get to that point, when I get to the higher stuff, when I get to understanding most of the daily conversation, then I'll move on to other podcasts and stuff. At this point in time, after all the study that I've done and all the listening that I've done and all the reading that I've done, I could say that I can probably read a manga quite easily. I say quite easily. I can understand it quite easily, but then it's manga, so it's very easy to understand because you've got pictures. I can read most of the words in there, and I can read most of the sentences, but there is a lot of stuff that obviously I can't read. I'd say I could probably read it to about 30%, maybe about 30% of understanding of the words and the sentences that I see. And obviously you just need to do more reading and more sentence picking to pick that up. I could say that I can understand a TV show that I've been listening to a lot, for example, Sword Art Online. I've been listening to that a ton, like an absolute ton, and I can say quite confidently that I can understand that about 50 to 60% comprehension, and that is mainly because a lot of my sentences are from the show, and the language in it isn't necessarily too difficult. It's quite basic stuff, which I've already learned. So yeah, so shows that I've been listening to a lot, I can understand a lot easier than obviously new stuff that I haven't heard before. I find that watching YouTube videos, for example, is quite difficult because it's often a random topic that you've never encountered before, and there's a lot of vocab in there that you might not have heard before. If it's something that you listen to constantly, then it's quite easy to understand. And obviously that a lot of that vocab does cross over, but there's obviously going to be a drop in percentage of vocab that you know. So other anime and stuff and other TV shows I don't watch as much, but other anime, for example, I'd say maybe 20 to 30% comprehension. It depends on the anime, it depends on how difficult the vocab is. Obviously things like Psychopaths have very difficult, Psychopaths, Fate, stuff like that, they have very difficult vocab, or I find they have very difficult vocab because I can't understand a word, I don't know what's going on. But other stuff like K-On!, basic silly anime, kids sort of stuff, and obviously aimed at teenagers, I can understand it a lot more. And, yeah, so it depends obviously on how difficult the vocab is and how much vocab you already know that obviously corresponds to what you're listening to. So it's hard to gauge yourself, but I'd say about 50 to 60% comprehension on something that I've been listening to a lot. Code Geass I've been listening to a lot as well. I could say probably 50% comprehension on that. There's a lot of language in there that is difficult, but the basic stuff I find very easy. So yeah, and then I've got reading, which I don't do as much of, but I try and read as often as I can, or whenever I feel like it. And I've got a few manga. I've got the entire Definite series, Dragon Ball, and Blue Exorcist, which got those three, which are pretty good. Dragon Ball's okay. It's a little bit quirky. It's quite funny, but it's a bit childish. I'd say it's good because it's quite easy to understand. Blue Exorcist, by the way, is very good. I'm really enjoying this one. I bought it about a week ago, and I'm already halfway through it, so that's pretty awesome. I've also got the second book as well, which hopefully I'll buy the entire series at some point. And Death Note I haven't even touched yet because I know it's hard. That's actually one of my goals, is to be able to understand Death Note to 90% comprehension within the next, well, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 months. I've got the entire series up there actually. I don't even up on that shelf. That's all the other books, and I want to be able to understand that and be able to read it really easily. So I'm gonna sentence pick it and hopefully learn a lot from that. So the reading isn't going as well as I liked, basically, because I'm not doing as much as I'd like, but I'm doing some. I just need to do more. That's, I just need to find more time for that. So I need to time box and control the amount of reviews I do and the amount of work for things I've got that I can fit reading in. The listening is not a problem for me. I'm doing a lot of that, and I think it's going quite well. The immersion environment, I need to get some wallpapers for my room. That's the only thing I need to do. Other things, like just a few issues that I've had so far. Obviously classes was one of them, but English websites are a nightmare, and the reason being is that the internet these days is obviously all around us. You can't get away from it. You have to use it. You have to use it for certain tasks. You have to use it for work. I have to use it for college, and you can't really get away from it. And I found that more often than not, I was getting distracted by Facebook and stuff like that. So I'd end up being on those a lot. Now for Twitter, what I did was I just went through. I didn't use it as much as Facebook, but now I am using it quite a lot. What I did is I went through all my followers, removed all the people that spoke English or posted in English, and I just followed only Japanese sources. And I'm following as many Japanese accounts as I can, and that way, if I feel like opening up Facebook, which again was a big issue, I can settle it on Twitter, and I can scroll through a Twitter feed that is all in Japanese. There's a few people that I follow that are in English, but most of the time it's Japanese. And I found that quite helpful, actually. I found myself, whenever I'm getting distracted, not paying attention, or whatever, and I get bored of a piece of work, and I start looking at Twitter, I find myself reading, and that is really good. Just having it there makes me read Japanese, which again improves my reading comprehension, and that's a good thing that you might want to do. Also, because Facebook was such an issue, and Facebook is a lot harder to remove all the pages you've liked. So if you try and do that individually, it takes fucking ages. So instead, I just used a Chrome add-on. I can't remember what it's called now, but I think it's called like Stay Focused or something like that. Essentially, it gives you 10 minutes a day for Facebook, and then it will lock you out. So I've got 10 minutes to check my messages, because I've got messages from friends or family, and notifications, and then it will cut me out for the rest of the day, and that's it. That's all I've got. But then if I want to get distracted, I've got Twitter, which is in Japanese, so I still learn even though I get distracted. So that was something that I found useful, which was a big issue for me at first, was Facebook being a massive distraction. And the one last problem I wanted to talk about was my writing issue, which again I think this is just down to not having enough input yet. But I can't necessarily write down kanji from memory. I don't know if this is because of the way that I did RTK. I did it slightly different to the way it was recommended. Instead of having the keyword and then trying to think of the kanji from memory, I had the kanji and then trying to remember the keyword. So I did it the other way around. And although this is still an okay way of doing it, I hope, I still think it is, because you can recognize kanji and you can recognize their meaning as you're reading stuff. Say, I don't know, let me get something. For example, I've got a webpage here which I'm reading about learning foreign languages. It's a Japanese website, and it's got the kanji for example, the kanji for country, and the example for the kanji for word or language. And I know those three kanji now; they're ingrained in my head. But if someone were to say to me, right, think of the kanji for example and write it down, I'd have quite a bit of an issue with doing that. I wouldn't necessarily be able to write it from memory. If I saw it, I know what it meant, and I could probably read it, but I can't necessarily write it down from memory. So that's a little bit of an issue that I'm having, which again I think is just down to not enough input. I think it's like once I get enough input, I should be able to write that quite easily. Or alternatively, I need to write more and as I go through sentences. But again, that's something that'll come with time, I think. So yeah. Other than that though, it's going really well. I'm enjoying the entire process, and it's more of a game than anything, which is kind of cool. It's not hard work. The only thing that's been slightly difficult is obviously the kanji at first, because it's a bit of a drag. But it was, once you got through it, it's quite fun, quite an achievement. You can make it fun, by the way, if you get into the habit of I don't know, enjoying sending a card on for like 4 months, like getting that little boost, like yeah, I don't have to see that again for 4 months. That's pretty awesome. It feels good when you do that. But yeah, just make it fun. Make it fun. That's what you got to do. That's how you learn a language. Make it fun. Watch TV, watch anime, listen to music, do what you like, read a book, do what you like. As long as it's fun, it'll work. At least that's what I hope. So yeah, that's my 6-month update video for learning Japanese. 5 months for AJATT, essentially, because it's only really been 5 months. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, or enjoyed the update, I guess. Let me know what you think on the AJATT method. Let me know if you have done this or are doing this, what issues you had, what stage you're at if you're doing it. And yeah, just let me know how you're getting on. I'll be curious to see how others are doing with it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. This is Matt, and I will see you guys in the next one, which might be another 6 months, and then I'll let you know how fluent I am. I'll see you guys later.